All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel, not in the chat panel. Also, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our website and YouTube channel within a couple of days. You'll receive an email with the link when it's available. All right, before we jump into the webinar, I want to introduce Microdesk to you all. So Microdesk was founded in 1994 as an Autodesk reseller with a simple mission to assist architecture, engineering, construction owners, and GIS firms with improving workflows and integrating project delivery technologies. 25 years later, and that mission still holds true. Microdesk is a well-established AECO consulting firm with 13 offices in the US and UK. We have over 230 AECO consultants, solution specialists, and software developers that can help in all sectors, all disciplines, and all stages. Some of the hottest topics in the AECO world are globalization, urbanization, and sustainability. Urbanization studies suggest that the US will build 114 cities the size of Boston in the next 30 years. Here at Microdesk, we can help make sure that you're prepared to meet these demands. We use software from industry leaders and combine it with our vision and passion for sustainability to meet the demands of urbanization. Our team of industry expert consultants are redefining project delivery and asset management. We're committed to helping clients realize the business benefits of BIM quickly and economically by facilitating the use of innovative technologies and processes, whether it's streamlining your design, construction, or operations. Our consulting team is the nation's largest and most experienced group of AECO technology consulting professionals. To help support the industry with the demands of urbanization, we provide full service consulting. This includes building information modeling services, enterprise strategy and workflow assessments, technology management, mentoring and support, application development, and much, much more. We partner with world leaders such as Autodesk and IBM to utilize innovative technologies and methodologies to empower sustainable design and overcome local challenges. Our vision is to reduce the environmental impact of urbanization by helping the AECO industry to design, construct, and operate better projects more efficiently by leveraging the full potential of BIM, VDC, and asset management. I will be presenting today. My name is Mike Gonzalez. I have over 8 years of on-the-job civil engineering experience, mostly municipal work. So I have expert knowledge in Civil 3D, InfraWorks, Bluebeam, and AutoCAD, and I'm certified in Civil 3D. And I'm also actually certified in Bluebeam, which we're going to be going over today. All right, so today's agenda, all right, we're going to be going over how to streamline your collaboration, right, using Bluebeam Studio. So essentially what we're going to be doing is how to kind of set up the actual document that you'll be using for your collaborative sessions, and that means just kind of helping people navigate through it, make it easier for everyone, especially for people that you've never worked with before, right? And then, so we're going to help you set that up, and then we're also going to show you a kind of a cool idea, which is digital dashboards, all right? Which is kind of a neat way to kind of host all your standards for when you're creating your PDF documents that you're going to be collaborating on. So, and I think a neat way to host them might be in a studio project, all right? So we're going to go over that and how that all works. All right. So let me go ahead and open up Bluebeam. Okay. And this is just kind of our multi-sheet PDF that we have. And so when you just kind of initially generate a PDF, I mean, all you really have is your thumbnails that are created from and the page labels are just kind of generated from the file name or the sheet name if you're doing it from Revit or Civil 3D, right? And it may not be all that expressive or useful, right? So there's no bookmarks created, there's no real linking happening, right? So you have to actually help your team do this, right? So first thing we're going to go over here is how to create decent page labels, all right? And that's with using the auto mark tool in Revu. So that is in the thumbnail pane, right? And I'm just going to go ahead, and I can do these individually if I wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and try to use the automated tool here, right? And that's to create page labels, right? So this way, I can just kind of help people just kind of look at the thumbnail and actually have a better idea of what the sheet is. So I'm going to go ahead and use create page labels now. I can do it by bookmarks, or the bookmarks could actually use the page labels, which is the way I'm going to do it, right? So utilizing the create page labels tool, I'm going to select page region, okay? So what this is going to do, and this is going to apply to all pages, right? So I can do a little custom range here, or just the current page if that's what I wanted to do. But I'm going to do all the pages in my PDF set. So I'm going to select my page region, and so this is the first one I'm going to do. I'm going to choose the drawing number as it is right now, right? And I'm just going to go in my title block here and find the area that would contain the drawing number. So what this is going to do is going to look and find. It's going to note the text that's created there. And then that's the first region. So I can actually add a second region if I want it to be more descriptive, and I'm going to do that with the drawing title, right? So I'm going to add the second region. Okay, and you can see the little preview here, A000 cover sheet. All right, and I can continue adding if I want, but this is good for me for right now, because that gives me a little description of what each page is, right? So A300 doesn't tell me much of anything, but once I create this, click OK, it's going to apply to every single page. Exterior elevations. That's far more useful to me than just seeing A300, right? So then you can navigate in your thumbnails, right? And you have a better idea of what those actual pages are, right? Another way people like to navigate is without actually seeing the thumbnails. They like to look at the bookmarks, right? So that's the bookmark pane right here. So I can automatically create the bookmarks. I can add individual bookmarks before or after an individual page, or I can automatically add them, okay? So I can create bookmarks automatically from my page labels. Maybe I wanted to do it one way or the other, right? So, and again, I will do them for the entire page range. And very quickly, we created some bookmarks that really helps everyone navigate the page, the PDF that you'll be hosting for your collaborative session, right? So this way people don't have to necessarily know what your nomenclature is, like E300, what does that mean, right? So it just kind of allows everyone to actually be on the same page and navigate the PDF more smoothly, okay? Now that's just kind of for ease of understanding. For ease of use, a very handy thing to do is to create hyperlinks, right? So let's say, for example, I wanted to just be able to click, I wanted to go to S 1.2. So as opposed to having to find it in the bookmarks, searching for it that way, or going into my thumbnails, right? I can actually just click on here and it'll take me to wherever I actually need to go, right? So that's a very handy way to do that. A great thing about Bluebeam is that there's lots of automation tools that allow you to quickly provide these solutions, right? So if I go to the links pane, right, I can add them individually, but that could actually be a little bit annoying because there's a lot of areas where you might see M104 and want to be able to click it and go to that page, right? So, and you might not, just kind of by going through, might not be able to find them all on your own. Maybe you'll miss a couple, right? So one of the cool things is that you can actually use the batch tools and choose a batch link. And we're going to create a new one here. Okay, now I'm going to add, actually I'll get rid of this one. Okay, so I'm just going to add this demo multi-sheet file, and you can actually add a whole range of files so that they all work together, or even a whole folder, right? So just an entire project folder of different PDFs, and you can just hyperlink between them, right? Which is awesome. Now this functionality is only available via the Bluebeam Revu Extreme version, not in the standard version, but you can still do it manually if you have the standard or Revu CAD. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And what it's going to ask me is, how do I want to search? Okay. And so what I want to do is I actually want to search by page region, and I just want to search by the page number, by the drawing number, right? And then I can look in my settings for how I want those hyperlinks to be generated, right? I can set a little filter, right? But what it's doing is it's scanning, right? It finds A000, and that's the search term, right? But let me go ahead and quickly just generate these hyperlinks. Okay, and you'll find that it created these links, and now, so now it knows, okay, I'm going to search for A000, and it's going to look in the entire document or all the documents that you've added to this function, and then it's going to create hyperlinks that will search for that term and then go to that specific page, right? So because it found it in that region on those different pages, right? So I'm going to go ahead and run it. And it created 128 hyperlinks. So you can see all of these that were created for each page are shown in the links pane. So there's lots of different links that were generated on different pages, right? So, and they all navigate to each other. And so I can just click on M100, and it would immediately take me to the M100 sheet, right? Which is pretty fantastic. So, and that's kind of just generating a hyperlink. Now the hyperlinks themselves do more than just one, they can do more than just one function, right? So you can actually select one and it'll take you right to it if you want to see what it is. Right? Because they actually perform a particular action, okay? So if I edit the action by right-clicking in my links pane, actually what it's doing is that it's jumping to a particular page, right, in my PDF. Now I can actually have it do a variety of different things. So one thing I can do is I can make it go to spaces. We're not going to go over spaces in this demonstration, but I can also make it go to a particular place, okay? And so I know that on page A700, there's a detail that I want to be able to navigate to over and over and over again, because it's going to be referenced in a lot of different places, right? So even for example, on this sheet, goes to A700. Now, right now, the hyperlink is taking me to the page. What I want it to do actually is to take me to, I want it to actually take me to the actual detail itself, okay? So one fun thing I like to actually kind of do is I like to find the little call out, right? And I'm going to run what's called a visual search. So it's not going to do it necessarily by the text, but it's going to do it by the shape, right? So it's going to find these call outs, right? So let me go ahead and go in my search pane, and I'm going to quickly click on the visual search as opposed to the text search. Okay, and I'm going to create a little rectangle that's going to encompass this area. So I'm going to choose Get Rectangle. Okay, and then I could choose how do I want this thing to search. Search the current page, search the current document. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it search the current document to find anything like this, right? And it's smart enough to understand whether it's flipped, upside down, different colors, right? So I can refine the colors too if I wanted to, right? Change how it looks, right? So I'm just going to click search, do this real quick, and I have it low sensitivity, so it's just going to kind of run through. It might take a minute to find the results because it is doing something pretty impressive. And as it goes, you can actually find, okay, so it's on page A201. So that's the first one I found. Okay, so it's on A202. There's that guy right there. That's fantastic. Let me expand this a little bit so we can actually see the previews. All right, so we definitely don't want this one. We do want this. See how notice it flipped? Okay, now it's finding a few that, all right, but you don't have to check them all on, right? All right, so that's good enough for now. We're only at 29% of the document, but it is finding a lot of different instances where it's going to find this particular call out. See, it keeps on finding them, keeps on finding them. All right, so I'm going to click on cancel here just to expedite the process. All right. Okay, and it's going to be stored in here. So I'm actually going to go back into my going to go back to page A700 here, and I'm going to go back to my links pane. And I'm going to create what's called a place, okay? And this is essentially somewhere just kind of a specific view on a particular page for a link to go to. All right, so I'm going to click in my links pane on place, under places, I'm going to add a place, okay? And this is the section through the grand stair. So okay, and then I'm going to use a snapshot view so I can kind of get it in a zoomed in view here, right? So specifically, it's going to go here as opposed to the entire page, right? And that's the section, or that's the place. All right. So now I can go back to my visual search very quickly, check on all the ones I want. So I'm just going to check off the ones I don't. So check them all on, and then I'm just going to check off the ones that don't really work. Check that one off. Check that one off. Right, and all the other ones are good, right? So now what I could do is I could pull down this little lightning bolt for all the objects that were found via the visual search. And I'm going to hyperlink them, okay? And I'm going to choose, instead of jumping to a particular page, I'm going to choose for them to jump to a place that I had assigned, the section through Grand Stair. I click OK. And now I can navigate to one of these that I found, okay? And I just click in this area, boom. And it takes me directly to that section, right? So you can do this with all your different details, and really that really makes it really easy to navigate your PDF for all your different users that'll be jumping on. And again, people unfamiliar with your plan set, it really makes it a lot easier for you to understand what exactly it is that you're trying to do, right? Or what's in the actual plan. It makes it easier for people to find things that they need to work on, right? So that's just kind of a really useful way to prepare your documents for use, right? Another thing you're going to need to do to prepare your document is actually have custom columns, all right? If you're going to be doing something like a takeoff review session, right? You're going to want particular columns for your different tools, right? So let's say you're doing a quantity takeoff, right? In a studio session. What happens is that the document will save whatever column situation you have with your markups list, right? So whenever you load up a document to the studio session, it's going to have for all different users the markups list as when you saved it, right? And that's going to include any custom columns you might have. So you might have some particular tools, right? So maybe I have some particular tools for my fixtures, my sinks, right? Let me go back to my right. So I might have fixtures here, sinks over there, right? So I might have a bunch of different stuff that I want to maybe take counts or measurements of, right? So, and these are using custom columns, right? So I have custom properties. Right? So I might click toilets, and I could do this, or I could do the cool visual search thing I did earlier and apply a count to them, right? Right? And these might have assigned to them a particular unit cost, right? So these might be toilets, right? And so we'd have that tool automatically in there, right, ready to go, right? So just kind of a pre-made unit cost for these particular items. And this is just an example, right? So, and so you would want anyone working on your takeoff session to be able to use these tools and to be able to use these columns, right? So that would entail you having these custom columns already generated, right? Because you have something in mind that you want people to do, right? So I already have these custom columns, okay? They're saved to my profile, okay? So what that means is that anytime you create a new PDF or generate a PDF, right, these columns will be available within your profile, okay? And the tools, you can actually import them yourself, right? So you can actually go to tool chest and you can import manage tool sets, and you can import tools from here. Right? So you can actually give out to everyone that's going to be on your session these tools that's actually going to be, so you've already set up how you want people to work, right? Allow them to navigate the PDF and then work in the way that you want them to by using the tools you assigned and the columns that work with those tools, right? So one thing that is going to be kind of difficult is to get people these tools, right? And especially if you're not the person who sets up the studio session, right? So I'll go ahead and delete this, right? So if I were to create a studio, and so if you were to delegate creating a studio session to someone, right, they would need this profile, right, to get these columns, and they would need the tools that you have to create the takeoffs, right? So to that end, you can actually create something called a digital dashboard, which is just a neat way to create a PDF that already has, just like I showed you before, it has links, right, to different tools, okay? Now these could be, these hyperlinks, right, if I edit the action here, right, they could actually go to a different PDF, right? So you can actually choose to open a file, right? And that'd be if it was something maybe on your network server, right? So if everyone had access to the same folder, but maybe you're sending this to someone outside of your company, right? Right? And you want them to start it, or or someone's working from home, they're not VPNing, right? Maybe you're doing a completely remote thing where you guys don't all have access maybe to the same map drive, right? So one idea that I like to go with is perhaps you can actually host everything in a studio project. Okay, so I have this PDF created, and I actually generated it from Microsoft PowerPoint, because it has these smart art tools, which just already look like buttons. So it's really handy, easy way to just kind of create it, and then you print it to a PDF, which is great, right? Very fast and very easy to create this sort of thing. And then what you do is just, as we did before, this time manually, create a hyperlink, right? And so what I want to do is I already created hyperlinks for directions for how to create Studio, right? And so it'll open this PDF. Right, so it just kind of gives you a little PDF for how to create a studio session, right? Using whatever tools, right? So that you can do that sort of thing. So it's kind of like a little bit of a README file, right? And then you can actually have it link to a profile, which would have you download the profile. Same thing with, so this is the takeoff profile. This would be a takeoff tool chest that any user could download, right? And then import into their tool chests, right? Manage tool sets, import tool chest, and they'll get all the tools that we have here, right? So by doing that, so let me just go ahead and, for example, I'll download this. I can choose where I want it to go. Just put it on my desktop for now. And then I can bring it in via my tool chest, manage tool sets. I can import, right? And there is my tool chest, right? So any user can then bring in the tools necessary to work on your shared collaborative PDF, right? Just by clicking a button on a PDF you either send out via an email, or you can host the PDF within a studio project. So you notice that when I click on, or when I go to my links pane in here, these are all actually hyperlinked to this HTTP address, right? This URL. Right? And that's actually because these files, I hosted them in a Bluebeam Studio project. Right, so again, if you don't have everyone working off the same network location, you can't have people opening, from your file server, or, if they just have it on their one machine, right? It's tough to kind of share with people from different organizations. One thing you can do is I set up my file here, and then actually I made a little support folder within my studio project, okay? And within there, you can actually host my your different tool chests, your different profiles, right? So you would give your profile to whoever's going to create the studio session for collaboration, right? They would have all the columns available needed, right? They would make the document for, set it up, save it, right? And then you can actually have your end users in the studio session download the tool chests, right? Just by clicking that one button. They can use the tool chest. First, they'd probably read the directions, grab the tool chest, download it. And the nice thing is, right, so the person would set up the studio session, right? All the custom columns are already set up, right? The custom tool chest is ready to go. You can just start clicking and adding your takeoff markups, right? I'll just go with a preset. Right, and that would show up in here, right? Already ready to go, right? So, so the basic idea is, is that just kind of ways to kind of streamline how you get everyone to be on the same page, using all the same tools in a manner that is just kind of that you can kind of control and organize and have everyone have easy access to it, right? And the way in the studio projects that you'd actually be able to host different files is by actually creating, by right-clicking in files, uploaded to a studio project. You can actually share a link. Actually, let me cancel here. Let me find the, which one do I want? I wanted the review profile, right? So let me find the review profile. So that's in the support files, review BPX, that's the profile file, right? And grab a share link here. Right. Click OK for the lifetime of the project. So I can share the file for the lifetime of the studio project. And you can just keep this thing open forever, right? I can require a password if I want, but I won't for now, so because I'm sharing it with a bunch of people. I'm gonna click OK. Copy the link to share. And then I can just use this and hyperlink. Make a little hyperlink here. Right? And I'll use hyperlink, paste that right there. Okay, and now when I click here, it'll actually go to that particular item in Bluebeam Studio projects, and you can download it, or anyone on your team can download it, and then from there create their PDFs with all your customizations already in your markups list, and however you guys need to actually work. All right, so that was just kind of a nice little workflow I thought I'd share with everyone. So to review, we make the PDF nice and navigable by creating bookmarks, hyperlinks, and page labels. Make it nice and easy for everyone to go through. And then to create a studio session, you would actually save it with your profile that you can load up by managing profiles and loading up that BPX file that you just downloaded from your studio project that will contain all of your custom columns and the columns that you want to actually show in the studio session. And then from there, people can download from the dashboard the different tool chests. All right, so I guess at this point, I'll open it up to questions. Can I share the dashboard and links to those profiles and tool chests? Like, I don't know who's asking this. Is it? Let me pop out the questions panel. Okay. Is there any reverse link? I use batch link function, and many times I wonder this. For example, I want some of the details. I want to know where this is called out. I see. Yes, you will be getting this recording. All right, there'll be if you register for the webinar, a link will be sent out to the recording. So, oh, you're trying to see if you basically click on a hyperlink, whether you can go back to where you clicked from. So if you do click on a hyperlink and you want to go back to the exact thing that you were at, one thing you could do is you can go to your previous view, and that'll take you to the exact previous thing that you were looking at, right? But it doesn't necessarily go back to the hyperlink that brought you there, because it's a kind of a one-way street here. It'll just bring you to whatever page the hyperlink is defining. But yeah, you could totally use this previous view, and you can go back quite a ways to bring you back to whatever you clicked. So I'm seeing another question. Can you share with us the dashboard and links to those profiles and tool chests? I mean, I suppose, but they wouldn't be particularly useful to anyone else. This was just a demonstration. Because all this was just linking to these little files that I just kind of added to my Bluebeam Studio project. It could be anything, right? So this one was just opening up a PDF. right? And that's also something that I saved in here, my session README. Right. So custom columns, okay, so that's a good question. Cancel. So custom columns, so you'd go into your markups list. Now, again, you want to be in a particular profile when you do this. And just so you know, you can't have multiple groups of custom columns. So you can only have one set of custom columns within a profile, right? So if you already had a profile with custom columns, right, you'd go in there and then you'd actually, if you didn't want to overwrite them, because if you start new stuff, you'd probably want to export them to an XML file and then bring them into another project, and then you can start over from there. So yeah, you can export the custom columns if you want, but really what you just kind of do is go to your markups list, pull it down, columns, manage columns, you go to your custom columns, right? And you can actually add a new custom column, and they're just different types of columns, right? So are you going to be doing it by a formula? Is it a choice? Is it just a check mark that you want to turn on and off, right? So I like to kind of do a choice, and then you can add different items to those choices, right? So that's kind of what I did for the flooring and fixtures, is that it was a choice, right? So let me just kind of show you with what I did here, right? So let me just modify. Oh, actually, so I'll go to unit cost, right? This is what I created earlier. So I'm going to modify this. This was a choice, and I created a series of choices, right? So the series of items, and if the markup subject matches this subject, it will become available as a choice in the properties of the markup, right? And then you could just assign that property to the markup, and then you would just, once you've added it to the markup, you would add it to a tool chest, and then that would just be part of it, right? So anytime you added it, it would have these values already set, and then just, right? So the unit cost is already assigned, right? So you can see that here, that's a custom column, right? And I made a little subtotal, which is a formula using the unit cost, which is now a property because it's a column, times the area property of the markup, right? And they just kind of formatted it, right? So that's subtotal flooring. That's what I got right there, right? So that's kind of how that custom column works. And there's different ways you can add different custom columns. And again, they could just be text. You just kind of fill something in, right? You know, so different things you want to do. Again, it's about being kind of creative with it. It is custom, right? So you can kind of do anything you want. But yeah, so you add those custom columns, and they'll be part of your profile, which is why I was mentioning that you'd want to share your profile with whoever's going to be creating the studio sessions, because it will have those custom columns, and that'll be saved. That'll be part of your PDF document, and then you can use the custom takeoff tools or review tools or whatever you need, right, to have people work. And just so you guys are, if you guys are wondering, one of the cool things about setting up studio sessions is that in a studio session, you don't need a registered version of Revu. You can even have someone be in view mode, which doesn't use an actual seat of Bluebeam, and that end user could actually still import a tool chest and use that tool chest in the studio session, right? So they wouldn't be able to mark up anything outside of the studio session if they didn't have a licensed version of Revu, but within the session, they can totally add this tool chest and use your customized tools to review or mark up the PDF in the session. So I got asked, when you share your profile, can the team make changes to it, or is it fixed? Well, you can make changes to it once you've downloaded it, but wherever it's hosted, that's where it's hosted, right? So if someone wanted to overwrite it, if they had privileges to that, they could, but you can control that. When you customize the markups list when generating summary, can the summary be customized to show the same columns? Yes. Yeah. Anytime you create a markup summary, you have just options of which columns you want to turn on or off. Right. And so anything that's in your markups list, any columns that are available, they'll be available to be part of your summary, right? And you could filter and sort and do all that stuff that you want to do when creating the summary. So just kind of when you create it, you just go to over here. Right. Is there any other questions? All right, so it looks like no more questions are coming in. Oh, okay. So I guess we'll end it here. Yeah, so everyone will receive a link to the recording. Oh, for batch linking, how critical is use of true type fonts? Okay, so that was actually an excellent question. And that's basically kind of how, whether it recognizes it. You probably should use true type fonts, except for when you have Revu CAD or Extreme, right? It will, when you plot from AutoCAD or Revit, it will, I don't think even in Revit, but in AutoCAD, it will recognize SHX fonts when you use the plugin. Okay, if you plot to PDF not through a Bluebeam printer, it might not necessarily recognize the .shx fonts from AutoCAD, but if you do from the actual plugin button, or just using a Bluebeam as your plotter, it will recognize the text, and you can search for it and do whatever and it'll recognize all the batch linking, because it's really just about it being text in the PDF. So if it's not searchable, if you can't even select it as text, it might not find it because it's doing a text search, right? So at that point, you might want to consider doing an OCR, but if it is a true type font, that will never be a problem, no matter where it's printed. But if you do have SHX fonts, again, if they're plotted through Bluebeam from AutoCAD, then it should be okay. Yeah, especially if you had the Revu CAD version, at least. All right, that was an excellent question. Okay, that looks like there's no more questions that I see, unless anyone wants to add one real quick. Okay, well, so sometimes when I do batch links, I see gibberish. Well, it could be just kind of that, yeah, maybe you didn't plot through Bluebeam itself, or it might be using an SHX font. True type fonts are always the best way to go, but you can, when you print, again, through Bluebeam, yeah, it will, when you print through Bluebeam, it will recognize the SHX font. So it should be fine searching for it. You want to make sure that it's, if you can grab it via text, via the text select, it should be okay. Sometimes when you have something that was maybe generated via a different file type or something like that, maybe like an older PDF sort of document that wasn't generated via Bluebeam, it might be so kind of annoying. So one thing to actually test would be if you select the text and then just try to copy and paste it into something else like Notepad, what does it actually look like? If it's all weird, then maybe you do have an issue in that regard. But generally, anything that's kind of printed new and via the tools provided will work out. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. Hopefully you guys have some food for thought and just kind of organize how you guys set up your studio sessions, just kind of a bit of a workflow, just kind of make it easier for everyone involved to all be on the same page. All right. So I think with that, we're going to end it. And yeah, and again, everyone will get the recording at the end. And yeah, everyone have a good day.